Late night college basketball viewers were treated to a thrill last night. Marquette and UCLA delivered in every way possible. This was a back and forth game where honestly, Marquette got the win in impressive fashion, 71-69, a couple clutch plays late. But I came away wildly impressed with UCLA, a team that plays, it seems like 13 different freshmen from 13 different
Yes.
countries. Like none of these dudes are real in my heart and my head. Like I've never watched this team before until yesterday. I knew on paper that it was all these overseas guys and a super talented group. You knew that, but like actually seeing it in person or in your eyes for the first time is like it takes you back a little bit because it's all these guys that are just totally unfamiliar with the college game, but you can tell have been playing professional basketball for quite a while now, and it's like a case study in like the transfer portal era and overseas stuff and how it integrates. It's fascinating. But you called this before the game started. In the preview, you were like, UCLA's got dudes who are not going to be afraid of this game. Sebastian Mack, in particular, was the one that you singled out. He had 25 points, and I thought Marquette played well. I don't think they played fantastic, but like it's not like Marquette no-showed this game. It's more that UCLA showed up and kind of like stuck it to them in the first half. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. I know the cliche, like during these feast week games, is like, oh, that game felt like March, or this felt like a tournament game, or that game, it felt like a tournament intensity. But it truly fit like what this game was. UCLA was ready to compete. They didn't back down. Also, Marquette wasn't ready to back down. I mean, UCLA was playing extremely well. They get up about 10, I believe, even as high as 12 points. And then Marquette, with supposedly their best player on the team, and Tyler Kolek, who's just kind of just off for Tyler Kolek standards yesterday. They take him off the floor, and the Marquette team is able to go on a 16-0 run, I think 18-0 run actually, with guys like Chase Ross, Sean Jones, Cam Jones, Oso Ighodaro playing well. It was very, very impressive of Marquette to be resilient and up to the challenge that UCLA presented. And it was very impressive the way UCLA played. I mean, obviously Mick Cronin's teams play so hard, and especially on the defensive end. And that UCLA team was doing some things special defensively, I think, to kind of uh um to challenge this Marquette team, who does have some weapons and does run great offensively. They were able to force turnovers by Tyler Kolek. So UCLA is a team to watch for me, because I think that this is a team that could come together at some point of the season, and they could have something, because they have some guys. They got Bona, they got Mac, but also once these international guys and the other guys kind of get more into the fold and more into the mix, I think that Mick Cronin could be cooking with something in Westwood.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. Like Mick is such a singular, unique style coach. Like when you hear him talk, just the way he does things, like he's one of one, right? And
Yeah.
like he did the halftime interview, UCLA played great, and like his one thing in the halftime interview was like, Cam Jones looks hurt. He looks hurt. And I was like, whoa, I don't know if we're allowed to say that, Mick. But I agree. Like this is not a team I would want to see if I'm a Pac-12 opponent. Like if I'm Colorado, who kind of has this offseason hype, or I don't know, Utah's started off the season pretty well. Honestly, shout out Bill Walton, the Pac-12, man. The Pac-12's gotten their stuff together, both in football and basketball this year. Like fun conference to watch with a lot of teams instead of just like the two at the
Yeah.
top. And
The fair
UCLA,
the Pac-12 farewell tour.
yeah, UCLA is not someone I'd want to see, unfortunately. I think they're still going to be the big bad Bruins. And um, on Bona, real quick, because he had like 7 eye-popping moments in this game. He had the big like rip through dunk that's on everybody's highlight reel this morning, but he had multiple huge dunks in this game. He had some massive blocks in this game. He just was flying around to the point where I really had a moment where I'm like, this dude looks like Chris Webber right now. And I think Chris Webber had a lot more like ball skill stuff, but like just like popping athlete wise, I see a little bit of that with Bona. I didn't necessarily realize that coming into this game. He's impressive, but it also like didn't show up in the box score. Like I thought I was going to check the box score at the end of this game and be like, Bona had like 20 and 11 and 5, and instead he had 13 and 3. Like what's up with Bona? Why is he so loudly great but box score wise quiet?
Yeah, I just think like his impact is just kind of wild. Like I think that part of Bona's play is that, and I mean this in a good way, is he's kind of wild. Like, but he's wild kind of in a more controlled sense. Like if you ask Oso Ighodaro how he feels this morning, he's gonna be like, "Man, I'm in hell. Like I just played 30 against Bona, even though Bona might only have had 13-8 or whatever he had." I think that he's just physically imposing. He plays extremely hard, and he's a freak athlete to be that size, to move the way he moves and jump the way he jumps. It's impressive. Um, but for UCLA to truly unlock him, he has to stay on the floor. I mean, he gives all out effort, all out max effort at all times. But unfortunately, that leads to some wild foul attempts, whether it be some offensive fouls or him just swatting down, trying to block shots. But there's just something to say with Bona on how dominant he can be. And honestly, a red flag for this UCLA team for me is that I don't think they get him the ball enough.
Mm.
I truly don't. He works so hard to seal like a right around the basket. You don't got to worry about Bona floating. Like I don't mean to bring this back to like other bigs, but you know how Khalil Ware can sometimes float, and honestly, all bigs can float a little bit and get in areas where they're throwing farther hooks. I mean, shit, even Zach Edey yesterday was throwing some hook shots where they were closer to the free throw line than they were to the basket. You don't have to worry about that with Bona. He's going to work to get as close as he can to the basket. And then because of how quick he is, he's got a different skill set and moves to finish, and he's extremely strong and athletic. So UCLA honestly needs to work on getting him the ball more. It was a credit to Marquette for giving great ball pressure and making entry passes kind of tough. But the way Bona works, he needs to touch the ball more. If your big's gonna work that hard, you got to reward him.
Yeah, just an eye-popping athlete, but leaves a little to be desired as far as impact, I would say, like in production. And I want to square that because I feel like what I saw last night in moments was like a top 5 player in the country from Bona. And then you step back and it's like, is he top like 50 player in the country even? Like, I just don't know. I don't know where to place him. This UCLA team is just going to be fascinating to follow throughout the season. I'm very excited to like watch every game of this team that I can, try to learn like how they grow, how they develop. Because I do think they are one of the teams that I would expect to look so different than they do now in March. Like not every team's going to be that. I don't think this Marquette team is going to be much different in March than they were tonight. I think UCLA could be like a whole new basketball team. But last just footnotes for me on UCLA. Utah's got to be sick. They lost Stefanovic, and I don't think he's ever been like as good as he has been early this season at Utah. But like, I just kept watching him being like, this dude was at Utah, and Utah's pretty good this year. Like they could just use him. Like Utah would really be a force to be reckoned with if he was still there. Burke made his debut. Burke Buktenstell. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I'm trying. It's 8 in the morning. I don't mean to like discredit the kid or be rude about it, but I haven't even attempted to say his name because I know I'm going to botch it, and I've put the effort in to try to learn the name. I still know I'm going to botch it. Last night I thought even though he played horrible, he earned me trying to say his last name because you can see the potential in this kid. So Burke Buktenstell, 0 for 7 from the floor though, with 4 fouls last night. Do you think he was just not ready for the moment?
Yeah, I just think like this is his first kind of real thing, real game kind of going into it. And even then, I texted the group that we're in, Greg, and I'm like, if there's one thing I know for sure is going to happen is next summer I'm going to have Burke on my breakout sophomore list if he is coming back, because apparently in all the preseason stuff, all the NBA scouts came away from UCLA games like Burke is a guy, like he could be one and done, like he's that good of a player. I don't think we saw that last night. You saw flashes. He had that off the dribble move and dish to Bona, which like at his size is special. But also was against David Joplin as a defender, who I want to talk about when we get to Marquette.
Oh, come on.
Yeah,
Come on.
I just really like what I saw from the guys on UCLA. I think I'm gonna have a soft spot in my heart for UCLA basketball this season. It was an impressive performance.
Yeah, there should be an Amazon Prime documentary being made right now on the International Bruins and this great season. And if college hoops to go was still a thing, the only trip at the top of my list would be a trip to Westwood this year. I feel like the bar scene with Burke and Aday Mara would be electric. Speaking of Aday Mara, he just didn't play in this game. He had 6 minutes off the bench. I'm very confused what's going on with Mara because in the 6 minutes he was on the floor, it was like, who's that tarantula that's out there? This kid's huge. I mean, he's just massive. He looks like Wemby at the college level, just visibly. Now basketball ability wise, he does not look like Wemby, but I'm confused because this kid played 24 minutes against LIU and looked pretty good. 14 points, 4 blocks, 4 rebounds in that game. And the minutes were trending upward, upward, upward. And then you get to Marquette and Cronin's just like, yeah, I'm not going to play you. Burke's it. Is that like he thinks Mara's not physically ready? Like, because he does look a little bit on the soft side, not to use the S word, but was that it?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. I think Berkey's frame is definitely more ready to play right now. And then also Mara, it's just he wasn't processing things fast enough. Like Marquette was throwing some different defenses. They weren't doing the same defense every possession. They did like a little bit of man, then it would go to kind of like a 3-2 or like a matchup zone type thing. And it kind of just caused Mara to float. And also when he was catching it out on the wing, like the ball pressure was getting to him. UCLA wasn't able to get into anything because when he caught the ball, and I'm sorry for people who are listening, he was doing the whole hold the ball above his head thing, like, not basically getting in a stance and getting people off him when they're ball pressuring him. So I just think he physically wasn't ready for that. Like, this wasn't LIU Brooklyn. That's a game where he could go out there and he didn't have to be physical at all. With a team like Marquette who ball pressures you the way they do and gets up in you the way they do, you got to be strong with the ball and you got to be ready. And right now, I just don't think that or at least in that game, he didn't give off the vibes that he was ready to be strong with the basketball.
Yeah, if we would have seen more Ben Gold in this game, I would have loved to see more Aday Mara. But when Oso Iguodala's on the floor, we don't need Aday Mara in this game. It's a tough challenge. So I thought Mick handled that pretty well, to be honest. Marquette, where are we at with Marquette? Because you swing wildly on this team. Preseason, you were super skeptical, said they're horrible. Then 1 week into the season,
okay, horrible. Did I say horrible?
Yeah, around that. 1 week into the season, you changed your tune. You saw this team go to Champaign and get a win, and you flipped your tune and said, I was wrong. Tyler Kolek's great. Marquette's really good. Then, like, tonight, I mean, give them credit. They ultimately grinded UCLA down. They won this game. They were 5.5-point favorites. They never really were on pace to cover ever, even in the middle of the run they made in the second half. Like they were down big early. They were playing from behind the whole game against a bunch of 19-year-olds. They're the finished product here. UCLA's not. Tyler Kolek, I mean, he's special. I can say that definitively. You watch him, like he is special. He's one of the best point guards in the country. He also attempted 7 shots in this game, had 9 points. Like, left a little bit to be desired as far as his own scoring goes. He did have 9 assists in this game. I thought Joplin was great offensively. He was hunting shots, 5 for 11 from 3. Cam Jones, you love him. He had foul trouble, so he didn't play a ton. Just kind of, like I said, I thought Marquette played well. Just definitely not the best version of Marquette in this game, though. Where are you at with Marquette right now?
I'm trying to think how I want to put this because I still am buying Marquette the way that I was before when they beat Illinois on the road to Champaign. They just got like guys that play extremely hard, guys that play extremely well. Sean Jones plays hard. Chase Ross plays hard. Like, all these guys just play really, really hard. But I think there's one clear person who doesn't play as hard as the other ones, and it's Joplin. And you look at it, and he is providing kind of what you need offensively. I thought he took a lot of shots. He did make a lot. Don't get me wrong. He took a lot of shots, though. I don't know if you have the box score correctly in front of you, but he had to have at least 17 shots.
7 for 15, 5 for 11 from 3.
Okay, so that's a lot of shots for him. Obviously, he went 5 for 11 for 3. You'll take that. And the way they were guarding him, you take that as well, I guess. But
I'll take 7 for 15 too. Like, what are we doing? Coming on here and being like 7 for 15 is not acceptable? Like, I'll take that.
I will, but I just couldn't help but watch him defensively, and he's bad. He's bad. He's Olay on defense.
Is he bad because all the other guys are so visibly elite that he stands out, or is he bad because he's actually bad?
Uh, I don't think I really care because at the end of the day, it comes back to the point that he's bad.
See, my read on it is he's not a bad defender. He just is visibly worse than the 4 elite defenders that are on the floor with him.
So you think he's an okay defender?
Like he's not Jet Howard defensively. He might be like Terrence Williams, but like Jet was like, no matter who's around him, that guy is a cancer to this defense. To me, I just feel like Marquette has 4 beasts defensively, and then they have Joplin, who's kind of just like running around in a stance. Like he's not elite, but he's not like a liability on that side to me.
I don't know. You just watch Marquette defensively, and you can always tell Joplin is the one who is kind of disconnected from the other 4.
Yeah.
Like they're not moving as one defensively when typically they do that. So I think that when people were talking about Marquette preseason, it was like, oh, they lost Omax. Omax was a great defender, and he's a switchable defender. Joplin's not that. I think that moving forward, teams are going to find ways to attack Joplin on the defensive end, and I think that could maybe pose a problem for Marquette. But at the same time, if that's their only issue, then I still feel great about the fact that Marquette is a really, really good team.
Yeah. I think that's fair, and I think to the point we made last night, I forget what team we were talking about, Rick Barnes, we're like, you know what, give him credit for knowing he needed a little offensive boost and letting the defense take a hit to do that. I think that kind of applies here. Like Marquette's going to have a top 10 defense in the country, even with David Joplin running around. Like if he can hit 5 threes in a game, I think Shaka will take that. And
but then flip side negative of this, what does that look like last night if David Joplin doesn't hit shots?
I think he's going to hit shots consistently, though. Like you're not
going to hit.
Yeah, you're not going to get me to sell David Joplin after last night's game. I thought he was good.
Okay, I will.
Okay, all right. It's always got to be something with you and Marquette. I don't know why. It's always something. Let's do the Kolek conversation real quick because 9 points, 9 assists, nearly a double-double. Only 3 3-point attempts. He hit 1 of them. Only 7 shot attempts. He hit 3 of them. He had 4 turnovers as well. This wasn't like a 9 assists, 0 turnovers game. He was kind of flinging that thing around and flipping it in the stands a couple times. Was this like a C performance from Kolek? Like where are you on this? Because I didn't love this from him. I thought like he had the UCLA inexperienced young guards like reading his reads and picking off passes in this one.
Yeah, I thought he was overpassing. Like I thought he was getting to the lane, and I was like, go up with that. Like throw a floater or do something with that. I just thought that he was like, like you could kind of read and guess what he was gonna do. And usually Kolek keeps the defense so off balance. But last night I thought he was just doing too much as far as passing the ball. To be honest with you, and it feels bad to say that because the guy ended up with 9 assists. But I just feel like last night he could have been more aggressive as far as scoring. And who knows if he's like bothered too? Like who knows if like his ankle's bothering him or something like that? But he just seemed a little tentative once he got around the rim.
Yeah. Maybe that's a credit to UCLA's front court, like rim protection. But yeah, I don't know. It felt to me like Kolek was playing checkers, but thought he was playing chess last night. And I was getting really annoyed as the game went on, as somebody who bet Marquette to cover in this game, because it felt like the guy constantly thought he was like seeing things nobody else saw. The problem was UCLA saw them all. Like he literally would try a whip around pass instead of a wide open layup to the corner. And like Dylan Andrews would just come pick it off. And I'm like, dude, come on. Like, stop trying to be over fancy. You're a great passer. We get it, but just take the 2 points. There's something with him that's just not all the way there for me. I know that sounds super harsh, but he has games where it's like, that's no doubt the best point guard in the country. And then he has games where I just think he plays poorly to his standards by the best point guard in the country standards and lets a team full of 18-year-olds lead for 90% of the game. Like it was just weird. I kept wanting Kolek to be the guy who like stepped in and ended this. And I don't think he ever was. Like, he was the star that, or the straw that stirs Marquette, but like, it was the other dudes who had the big moments and the big shots in this game that won them the game, right?
Yeah, and I mean, if you think about it, and this is not to insult Kolek, but like, is he the guy that I mean, is he like the go-to guy for them down the stretch?
I think he has to be, but I think by default, if Kolek's your go-to guy, that means like you don't have a go-to, because he's going to look to pass at all times, which is fine. They'll probably get a good shot off it, but like, I wish he was a guy you could trust to like go make the play for himself too. And I don't even think he'll do that. Like, if it's a one possession game and Kolek has an open shot, I still think he's going to look to pass.
But also that you like to point this out, last year, like towards the end of the season, he was that guy in the Big East.
He was
Like
great.
it was Kolek time.
He was great. And look, he was great against Illinois too, but in crunch time, the Illinois game, it wasn't Kolek making the plays. So like, best point guard in the country to me is like, he goes out and wins you the game. And he obviously was like good tonight. He wasn't bad, but I keep waiting for him to just be the guy who asserts himself and takes the game. And I don't think we've seen that in the big moments yet. Maybe we'll see it against Kansas.
Yeah. Also, isn't Kolek like averaging the same amount of everything he was last year too?
I can look that up real quick.
If I'm not correct, like
I think he's better.
there. So you said what?
He's 13 and 6 assists this year. He was 13 and 7.5 assists last year.
So he's not playing as well as he was last year.
He's shooting less threes this year, but he's making 56% from three right now. That means you need to shoot more threes, Tyler.
You got to shoot. We want you at 40. We want you at 40 something, because you're getting so many attempts up. It hurts.
Yeah, turnovers are up. He's super efficient. I don't think he's shooting the ball enough. That's my read on his stats through 4 games.